Welcome to Coach, a global community for coaching mastery.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Coach, Global Community for Coaching Mastery podcast. This is your host, Coach Leo, co-founder of Coach, and today we have another conversation where we dive deep into what it takes to coach with mastery. And this episode is going to be wide-ranging. I'm super excited to welcome our guest today, Dr. Matthias Hombauer. And I'll just read Matthias' bio just because it's so diverse. It's so interesting. I cannot wait to dive into different parts of it. So, Matthias is guiding leaders to achieve from inner peace. Is Dr. Matthias Hombauer. So, he is a doctor. Think about that, professional coach and doctor. And he's a thought leader who shifted from external success to helping high performers achieve fulfillment through inner peace. With a PhD in molecular biology, I have questions already. He reinvented himself, yeah, as a rock star photographer, building the world's largest concert photography community and a six-figure business. Wow. Now he coaches CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business leaders, aligning their drive with clarity, joy, and deeper meaning. Dr. Matthias, wow. Is there anything that I missed?
We're done, I think. That's it. Thank you so much for this nice
Wow.
introduction.
So it sounds like you've had very distinct lives. And today you are a professional coach. You are coaching CEOs, you are coaching leaders. And I'm curious if you can give us in a nutshell, what was your journey to coaching like?
Yes, I try to keep it as short as possible here for you and the listeners. So yeah, actually everything started back then when I was younger. I was always driven by achievement in a way. When I was about 7, I started athletics and I won national championships in 100-meter and long jump. Then I became an ambulance driver and was, yeah, helping people and trying to save their lives. And then I moved on to molecular biology. So I studied at the University of Vienna. I did my PhD there after 9 years. Long studies. I was working in international institutes and academic research. And what I found is that I always was driven, but there was never a fulfillment in a way. There was always something missing, right? And so I was jumping from one goal to another. And at this time, what I also realized is that I had a lot of trouble with close relationships. So my relationships never worked out um, for whatever reason. I always wanted to be their hero, but they didn't want a hero in their life. So I was always like devastated after ending this short relationship. So there came a point in my life where I thought, I want to know more about me and why is it where I am right now. And I got into therapy for like a year and was doing all this self-exploration work and figuring out what was wrong with me and what I need to fix. And then after a year or so, I decided for myself, like, okay, probably this is not going to bring me forward if I just go to the past and try to fix my being or my identity. Let's move on. And so here there started a completely new way of my being as Dr. Matthias Hombauer. I was like 28 years old, and for the first time, I allowed myself to follow my intuition. So I think all this work, this inner work in therapy, added up to getting to know myself better, getting more connected, and so I started to feel again what's in me and what drives me, like my true authentic self. And there was one special moment. It was like an epiphany when I was cycling to work, because I was always cycling with my bicycle. I had this voice in my head that told me, why are you not becoming a concert photographer? And I had no idea what a concert photographer is. All I knew is like I was into music because I was having my own band back then, a death metal band with such long hair. I was going to concerts regularly, and I started to take photos, but that's it. And so here this voice was like, why are you not becoming a concert photographer? And it was quite scary, but I was curious about it. And so the first thing when I came to work was Googling it, and this was like 13, 14 years ago, Googling concert photography. And all of a sudden I saw, wow, there are a couple of guys, just a few, two or three, you could count them on one hand, who are being professional concert photographers. So actually what they're doing is they're taking photos of rock stars. And like I was, wow, that's what I want to do, right? If this is a profession. And so I started slowly getting into this business. And all of a sudden, a couple of years later, I was an international music photographer. I flew to Buenos Aires at an exhibition there with other photographers. I was invited by Instagram to shoot in France. I was invited to Saudi Arabia, and was like, wow, that's a rock star life. That's cool, right? And so this was one. And then I switched again because my daughter was born. Mia is now already 8, and Noah, my son, is 5.5. And I thought, I want to be a stay-at-home dad. I want to be here for her and not always on the road, and most likely you're shooting concert at night. So what I did is I started from scratch an online business without even knowing what it is and what to do. Basically, a blog called How to Become a Rockstar Photographer, um, and sharing my story. And then I figured out, wow, because there are so less people who are writing about it, Google liked my content. And so if someone typed in concert photography, I came up with my homepage. I started to write blog articles for big uh, digital photography magazines. I started my own ebook. This became a video course. And so I built, per coincidence, from my bedroom, like a six-figure business at one of the biggest concert photography communities. So this was like the rock star life, so to speak. And I was in there for about 12 years. I learned a lot. I'm really grateful for all these experiences. And then COVID hit. And 2020, March 2020, COVID hit, and the music business was dead for the next 2 years. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe it's time to reinvent myself and move on with this. And as the universe or God or whoever wanted, a friend of mine handed me the Coactive Coach book and said, probably this is something for you. So I read it and it's like, that's interesting. And I start searching, and I found out that Schouten and Nellison here in Europe, in Amsterdam, they are offering a fundamentals course in Coactive. So I jumped on this, completely blew my mind this whole weekend. It was an online course, like, what's this? Who I am? I never knew this. And so I embarked on this journey. I did the intermediate course, I did the certification, and here I am.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's so many themes we can go into, but I'm curious about a few things. So what I'm hearing is it's almost like you are a master of reinventing yourself. What I heard, you literally reinventing, and you became whoever you wanted so far. And that is an incredible skill that so many people are wanting, craving, but for some reason it's so hard. What was your, let's say, looking back, what are some takeaways? And if people are in that shouldn't I reinvention maybe frame, what helped you? What are the learnings?
Yeah. So first of all, I guess the most important point is to know why you are doing it, right? A lot of people start with, what should I do? How should I do it? And this is valuable information that you can get from everywhere. But it's more about the motivation why you're doing it, right? So why do I want to become, in my case, a concert photographer? Why do I don't go like a pretty safe academic career as a researcher and just go straight in, jump into the cold water in a business where you normally can make any money out of it. So I had this passion or this fire inside of me, and I truly sure everyone has something burning inside of them and in their heart. It's just a matter of, do I follow it? I am there to follow, because what I have found from all of these experiences, it's never a comfortable place to start from. For me, before, it was like, shit, now this voice is here again. This feeling is here again, this intuition. What should I do now? Either I can just park it somewhere, and ignore it, which will come back all the time, and that's annoying, and it will hit me hard if I'm just neglecting it. Or I'm open, I'm exploring, and I'm going this whatever extra mile. How I am always seeing it is, and this is also how I'm explaining it to my clients, I'm always seeing like a big highway, 5 lanes. Everyone is driving in the same direction with their cars, the same speed, and it's just, people are going in this direction. And for me, this is like the quote unquote normal life, where you have like a quote unquote safe job. You're employed, you're in your hamster wheel, you're just living life, and that's comfortable. Most people find a way that's comfortable. And then next to it, I always see like this little path in the woods where you can't even see the next turn and you don't know what it is, right? But something drives you into it, and it's like, oh, I want to know more, and I will get there. And what I've seen so far, not so many people walk this way because it's uncomfortable. It's, you don't know what to expect. You don't know if it turns out like you want, because you don't have any guarantee. And so trusting yourself and trusting this feeling, I think that's the most important thing that you can learn, that you can cultivate. And this definitely helped me by doing this inner work, learning more about myself. And coaching is a great tool,
Yeah.
by the way, to get there. And I think the second important thing is that I have seen also with all my businesses and starting businesses, you need to be persistent in what you're doing. It's like overnight success is not really working, as Instagram and all social media platforms wanted to see it as, okay, wow, this is the guy. All of a sudden he got rich. Now he's in Bali. He has this apartment, whatever it is. He has this car, even this rent airplane where they can take photos of.
Rented a
Uh,
car, rented airplane. But
right.
okay.
I mean, and that's not the real life. And I think the 9 years of studying molecular biology, being in a PhD, which was pretty frustrating, and demanding, helped me to learn like a mindset, or cultivating a mindset of being persistent. And if you're being persistent and having this grit, how it's also called, you will get there if you stay long enough in the game. And I guess a lot of people already quit before they even started, because they are so much in their head, in their uncertain future, in their thinking of the past all the time, because maybe you had some failures in the past, and then you said, okay, I can't do it because I'm not good enough, and all this stuff coming up. And so I think getting started step by step, being persistent, and first of all know who you are and why you're getting into this little wooden path, instead of just being in the car and having a comfortable
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Wow. So true. And that, the lifestyles that we see that are being sold to us, we know that, most of the time it's just marketing and nothing to do with
And
reality.
BS.
Yeah. I guess by now we know better than that. But Matt, you're coaching founders, CEOs, and you said something very interesting in the first part. You said that your relationships didn't work, and I'm curious about that, because I'm sure as a professional coach, you see that a lot with very successful people, where they over excel in their careers or businesses or passions, but they just kind of, sweep under the carpet other parts of their life. And you also said that you wanted to save everybody. You wanted to
Mhm.
be the hero. And I see that in many, many high achievers. So can you expand a little bit more on that, and what were your insights or around that to turn your relationship aside? I know you have a beautiful family. Family is such a massive value for you. And just curious, what was your process around that?
Yeah, when like looking back, what comes up to me is I just jumped into this relationship, and with my now wife, back then my girlfriend, she was the first one who was open to a solid and trustful relationship. And what I was looking for, is I figured out I always wanted to have this feeling of being in love. And this always kind of triggered me, okay, if I have this feeling, then it's the right one.
Mm,
And it seems I only got this feeling when it was clear from the outset that this is not going to work, because they were like attracted to their ex-boyfriends and whatnot. And so it was always like, okay, I got the feeling I got in be in love with someone that I can't have. And then I was massively disappointed if they turned back and said, I don't want to be rescued. I will get back to my ex-boyfriend, even he's an ass, right? So it's like, interesting. And then I did this inner work and I said to myself, okay, maybe if this approach is not working, let's try something else. And I'm super grateful. And I was brave enough to just try it out, to have a relationship, an honest relationship. And slowly, time by time, it turned out that this was the best decision I ever made. So what I've learned from there is that even though in the beginning it might be scary, it might be getting you out of of your comfort zone. You don't know what to expect. There is risk involved, but if you believe in yourself that you want to do it, then it always turned out great for me. So it's
mm,
just almost like overcoming this first hurdle of, yeah, I need to step this little hill up, and then it's rolling.
yeah.
But if I just stop before, then it's not.
Mm,
And I can agree what you said with the high achievers. I'm also working with a lot of people who want to have an impact, and they have this mindset that they want to save the world. And they tell me like 24 hours are never enough to save the world. And so they get into the struggle of, there is too less time. 24 hours is too less time for me. I need to work, work, work. And then they have family. And so once a client told me she felt bad when she was at work because she wasn't home with the family. And if she was with the family, she felt bad because she wasn't on work. And so you get into this spiral of everything is fast, goes faster, and you can't really escape. And then they come up with something like, I did a little survey and saying, how busy you are with entrepreneurs. And almost everyone said, I'm super busy, insanely busy, crazy busy. And if I ask them, can can you give me a picture on your relationship with time? Because busyness is always connected with time. They said things like, uh, I'm feeling like a snowman melting in the sun, or it's like chasing a dog that I can never catch, or it's a question mark, or time is my competitor, right? And if you're coming from this mindset of, hmm, I'm waking up in the morning, the time is ticking, it's a competition, I need to, win whatever you want to win, then it's getting stressful. And coming from this energy and from this being is completely different than achieving from an inner peace and groundedness. What I want to help those guys.
wow. Wow. So what I'm hearing is the people that you work with struggle with time scarcity. Is that the theme?
It's one of them. It's time. It's maybe what also comes up is I'm not good enough. The need to achieve and perform for someone on the outside, which might not be even here anymore. Like probably in the childhood, parents or something that has had a lot of expectations of them. So that might be something. Control is something, they don't want to give up control in a way, even they're building a team. So this stands in the way. And there are a couple of common things I would say that most likely they are doers, right? And it's great that they are doers and makers. But what I've seen is they miss the the balance. I don't know if balance is the right word, but they miss the part of this rest phase. They're just full speed on, they're full performing. It's like sitting in a car going straight on the highway without a brake. And all of a sudden it breaks down. And these some of the clients, they were already in burnout, or they know what's coming. It's like, yeah, I know what's coming, but I can't change now. And it's like, interesting, right? So why not pictorially saying or metaphorically saying, why not having a break on this highway and just see what's there right now? But it's like, no, I need to go full speed because otherwise I'm not successful. If I'm not performing, I'm not good enough. And so it's kind of spirals down of more and faster. And yeah, pretty interesting place to be. And I was there as well, It's, my PhD was all about performing, and but this didn't get me to where I wanted to be, like having a more grounded life. And so therefore,
Yeah.
coaching helped me a lot to realize this.
So I hear that your background and your experience in the PhD, it almost fast tracked this understanding that success does not equal fulfillment.
At least for me, for some it might be, but what I've seen with my clients, no one is really fulfilled because they're coming from this struggling, stressful energy, and not from a joyful, I love my job, what I'm doing. It's more like just struggling. I don't even like what I'm doing, but I need to go through it because pain is success or something like this. It's one of the
Okay.
mindsets.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it a lot as well. So I'm curious, Matt. So if they come, they're very focused, they're very driven, which actually burns them out in the process. And coming out of a coaching with you, how does their life change? If a high achiever is watching this interview right now, is listening to this, and they're like, okay, well, yes, something is missing, but what's going to change for me? Is it really possible? I do want to change, but what?
Right. Right. So first of all, what I want to clarify is there is nothing wrong being a high achiever or achieving and doing, right. I'm not here to judge or to say what's good or bad. That's not my point here. But what I'm saying is um, that people, interestingly, at a certain age range, most people I'm working with are 35 to 45. They have a family, they have kids. They reach the point in their life where they say, "Oh, is this it?" Right? And so similar to my own life, which is interesting. But yeah, so what they are searching for, and one of the clients I was working with, he came up with the term and said, "I want to achieve from inner peace." And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Exactly what I needed. This is the tagline I want to have, because it was never clear to me how to communicate it. But in the end, it's all about achieving within a piece, which means for me, achieving, do all this stuff you want, high performing. It's important to have all these people to move forward with all the projects and enjoying the time on a sustainable way and not burning out on the way. And so most people, when they're working with me, and that's on an individual basis, everyone has different outcomes, but most likely what people say is they are feeling, more relaxed, more happy. They found more their purpose in life. They can now perform with joy and ease and not so much stress anymore. Um, they found a kind of how to work out professional life and personal life, because this is also something um, that I'm seeing is a lot of people over identify themselves with their job, with the professional life. So it's like, if this project or this company, whatever, is not working out, it's on me. I'm it's my fault, obviously, but I'm not good enough. I'm the failure. And I think what helped me is to learn to be detached from all of those things. Yes, it's my professional life, and yes, I'm in charge of it, or in control, but it doesn't mean if the business is not working out that, I'm a failure as a person. And I think that's a huge difference, because if you identify yourself with your work and something happens, it's always on you. And then it's like, I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I can't do it. It's my fault. And then you're in a different position as to say, I'm unattached to this. Yes, it's my work. It's important, but that's not who I am. And that's a huge point, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of failure, there's a lot of fear of failure out there among high achievers. It's almost like the silent elephant whale in every achiever's room. And partly that's why they work so hard and sometimes work themselves to mental challenges, even anxiety. We've seen that, panic attacks, whatever. That fear of failure, FOF, right? Which is an illusion.
Exactly, because what does even failure mean? Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's an illusion in a way that, okay, it's something bad, and failure means something bad is happening. But what really failure is like a first attempt in learning, what we have learned, the coactive space. And this changed my view again. Like, failure stands for first attempt in learning, which takes the scary part out of it and makes it more fun. It's like, okay, I can learn from this. And it's also an illusion to think you will nail it in the first round, right? I mean, if you're building a business, being it a coaching business or something else, or in all other aspects of having a new job, you need to learn. You just get started. So how can you not fail in it? And so maybe the other way around is embrace your failures and learn from it. If you're just running away from your failure and you're so scared of making failures, for sure you will make an error or a failure.
Yeah.
But if you say, okay, I'm not so hard at myself. Let's try. I'm trying my best. Let's see what comes up. I'm unattached to the outcome, and cool. There's a failure. I mean, failure doesn't mean that it's life threatening. I mean, that's different, right? I mean, you're not losing your house, and you're living on the street probably with what
But most
people
people
think
do
they
think like
will.
that. Exactly. But most people do think like that.
Yeah,
Even
like the extreme.
even the reality is that it's so far away from what they're imagining, but their mind just goes to the worst case scenario. And usually they do think, I'm going to lose my house and my life and my family, and I won't be able to provide. And that's
Exactly.
so far from their reality, but yet there's that perspective of doom and gloom.
Exactly. And one thing is, what I've learned is that, most people live either in the past or in the future. So living in the now is the only time right now, in this moment. Now I can change something. Now I have control. And now I have another control. And now I have another control. What people tend to doing is either they live in the past and say, oh, in the past everything was better. Maybe just remembering half of it how it was, because you get your picture of what you want to see from the past. Or, as you said, they're living in an uncertain future, which is not clear how it will turn out. But if you're just living in these conditions of past and future, and you're always anxious because you never know what's happening, and you expect the worst, you might see all these things becoming your reality.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Because probably can also talk about, like, just our thoughts are like creating our reality. And what I've also learned is we are not our thoughts. So thoughts are just thoughts and feelings are just feelings. But if we over identify each other with it, and we say, oh, that's now this thought, and that's is the reality, uh, I'm failing, and I'm whatever, I land on the street. If this thought is just becoming real for you because you're so attached to it, then you might, take an action outside that might lead you to this in a way. And then it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy to say, oh yeah, this thought was right,
Yeah.
and now I'm seeing it. So it's pretty interesting also to work with people on their mindset, what they're thinking, how they're talking to themselves. And sometimes, how we are talking to ourselves or treating ourselves is almost like we wouldn't even treat our worst enemy like this or saying the things.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware of it, you're just living on autopilot for the rest of your life. And
Wow. Tell that
yeah.
to a high achiever who wants to control everything in their life, right? So there's this illusion of control, external control, but actually what needs to be taken control of is that inner dialogue.
And on this note, it's like what I'm doing with my clients is, inviting them to meditate, because I'm a big fan of meditation for the last 12 years. It completely changed my life. And what I'm seeing is everyone is struggling because, with meditation, you don't see any results quickly. You don't need to achieve anything. It's on the completely different uh, other side of the spectrum of achieving and doing. It's like being, accepting, forgiving, and just being there and seeing what comes up. And then they kind of, oh, I have so many thoughts, I need to fight it. And then you're again in this situation of, oh, I'm not good enough. I just said 2 minutes. I always have the monkey brain. That's not for me. Instead of just, and this is something you can learn. And I know this when I started out, it's quite intimidating in a way to sit in silence and what I'm doing here. I can achieve something if I'm doing something else than just sitting here and waiting for what. And then it's like I can't control my thoughts. That's not for me. But yeah, just as a side note, meditation is a different game, and you can learn it if people are open to it.
Yeah. Meditation is that the most certain path towards self-awareness.
Yeah, and it's, I'm in a place where I'm doing meditation 20 minutes a day, probably twice a day, and this is kind of my home. I'm not feeling this kind of feelings in the outside world when I'm getting into action, because you don't have this groundedness, this stillness, and it's so beautiful if you grow into it. I have the feeling the more I'm doing it, the more I need it. And what it actually, if people are interested, what it's doing. I mean, there are a lot of benefits, but I think the most striking point for me, or at least I link it to it, is that you have a little bit more time before you get triggered to decide what to do. So, as an example, sometimes I get triggered by my kids, and it's like that's on me, not on them. I always blamed them to be fun little guys playing in the evening and don't want to go to sleep. It's their fault that I'm getting angry, until I realize probably it's my thing, right? Why do I get angry? They're just playing, they're just kids. And what normally would happen is that I get triggered by something like they're playing, and I get angry, and here I am in this emotional roller coaster. I can't escape. You're starting to be louder or angry or whatever. And with meditation, I have the feeling once you get triggered, you have a little bit more time to decide what to do. It's almost like zooming out, standing next to you and saying, now what? Interesting, right? Why are you getting triggered? And it's like, do I want to get angry and lose my self-control? Or is it more, maybe take a deep breath, have a smile and say, I love you guys. Awesome that you're playing. No, it's fun with you. And I think that's the main point for me, like really getting more control over your thoughts and your behaviors, which is big.
Wow, that is powerful. Matt, before we close our session, and we can go on for hours, this is incredible. I'm curious about the sign behind you that says "Lead from within." What does that mean?
Yeah, this is also something that came through my intuition, on this path of figuring out whom I want to serve and whom I want to work with. And also what I just talked, or we talked about the meditation. I think lead from within for me means coming from the inside, getting to know yourself, why you're doing things, connecting with your true authentic self, or your God, or your universe, whatever it is you call it, and act from here. So what I experience, and back then I was a researcher, so in my heart I'm still experimenting a lot. And so what I'm experimenting right now is to say, okay, I need to take a decision. Normally I would sit down, write the pluses and the minus and whatnot. Now I'm just sitting down quietly. I ask the question inwardly and see what comes up. And all of a sudden, I'm kind of deciding from the inside out, which is kind of lead from within. And so what I get out of it is like, okay, if I trust my intuition so much, it always turned out great. Yes, it's challenging. No, it's not the easiest way, but this, at least for me personally, led to the most fulfillment in my life. And so it's really interesting to see. Last time I was just asking, should I do the PCC exam in German or in English, as for the guys who are coaches here. And first of all, I said I registered with the German test, and then I had doubts because I thought maybe English is better. And so I sat down, I asked this question inwardly. Nothing came up when I said German, and when I said English, like a kind of like a bubbling up of my feelings came up. Sorry, come up. So again, sorry. Uh, so what when I will just start here. So when I ask myself inwardly, um, should I do it in German? Nothing really changed. But if I said, should I do it in English? Almost like a bubbling up of feelings. Like there was something, and for me it was like, okay, let's do it in English. And so I changed it, and I'm now doing it in English, and believing that this is the best way. So yeah, lead from within means for me getting in touch with your inner true authentic self and with your soul, because this is the most fulfilling way to live in this on this planet. I'm pretty sure about this. And yeah, just you know come from this energy instead of the ego, which always like comes is fear based and anxiety based and judging and blaming and elbows and I need to be better. So yeah, for me this reflects like this inner peace if you really can trust yourself in your decisions.
Yeah. Wow. I actually felt that piece as you were talking, so thank you for that. Really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Matt, before I ask my last question, where can people find you? Where is the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, so the best place is probably LinkedIn if you want to see what I'm doing. I'm pretty active there, Dr. Matthias Hombauer. You can also go to www.matthiashombauer.com. I'm also running a newsletter which comes out every Saturday, which is more like for me, it's like a way onto serve people. And it's most likely personal stories and what I'm learning on my way. And interestingly, more and more people reach out to me and say, "Oh, that's awesome. I want to try this, or I experienced this as well." So this really keeps me going with it. And you can also find the link on LinkedIn. Yeah, otherwise, just get in touch with me, probably through the coach community if you're in there. And yeah,
Great.
happy to have a chat with anyone who comes up.
Absolutely. And do take this opportunity. Honestly, if you are on the edge balancing, just go for it. Reach out to Matt for sure. And Matt, my last question is, what is a vision that you hold for your coaching? What's next for Matt? Dr.
What's
Matthias
next?
Hombauer,
What's
sorry.
next? Yeah, all good. What's next for me is passing the PCC exam tomorrow. That's the next milestone. And then personally, what I want to do is I have a pretty clear picture on my practice. So what I want to have is 10 ongoing clients. I'm coaching online, internationally, and this will allow me to balance my life out because now I'm working from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then since my kids are still small, I go to school and bring them back and just be present with them. So for me, I would say I live already my ideal life. but if I can dream, it would be something like establishing a business with 10 ongoing high achieving clients internationally. And yeah, just helping them, serving them, learning from them, and enjoying this pretty wild journey. I'm someone else than I was 2 years ago, so it's pretty interesting, and I can recommend it to everyone. So if someone is open to it, to coaching, or just to learn more about themselves, coaching is a great way to move forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matthias Hombauer. I'm sure we
Yeah.
can have another 5 conversations from rich experience and knowledge and insights. So I'm deeply grateful for your time, for you sharing your wisdom, your inner peace, for your very concrete advices. So thank you so much. And I look forward to reconnecting again. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah, for having me. It was a pleasure. Bye.
This recording was offered to you by Coach, a global community for coaching mastery.